Thanks for watching. Go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified of each new video as it comes out. Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival, and today we are going to talk about the top 20 tips for setting up a bug out camp. Now, as you guys know, I have always been an advocate of preparing in like an 80-20 fashion. You know, spend 80% of your time assuming that you're going to bug in, but you need to spend probably 20% of the time assuming that there could be situations that could force you from your home. And so you might have to bug out. If you do bug out, I think that you should absolutely take a vehicle. Take a vehicle and a trailer if you can. Take as much stuff with you as possible. Don't just abandon your home with just a backpack if you had other ways to carry more stuff. But that being said, let's just assume something happened and you had to leave, and on your journey to your destination, wherever that may be. Maybe it's a friend's house, maybe it's a relative's house, maybe it's a bug out location you've already got established, or maybe you're just going like up in the hills because that's the only other option you've got and you haven't been able to find anything else. We're going to assume for the purposes of this video that you have to stop somewhere along the way and make a camp before you get to your destination. Okay? And who knows what the cause of that stop may have been. You know, there's a million different things that could cause that. But just for the purposes of education and to figure all this out, we're going to say that that's what's going on. The first point here is you want to try to do some pre-collapse or pre-SHTF route surveys. In person is going to be the best. You know, trying to look at your destination and where you are, figure out the route and how you want to get there. I've talked a little bit about this in the past in other videos. I'll try to link that down in the description below, you know, using tertiary roads and things like that. But knowing along that route, where's a good place to stop? Where is a place with water? Where's a place with cover and concealment? You know, those kinds of things. You just want to do a little bit of planning on that. The next thing is, number 2 is identify possible places to stop that are on county, state, or federal land. You know, if possible, stopping on public land would be the best possible choice. If you can't find that for whatever reason, maybe look for land that is owned by businesses or corporations or banks, people who don't actually inhabit the land. If that, for whatever reason, is not available, then look for people who don't live there in the immediate area or live out of town, because trespassing is illegal. So I'd recommend not trespassing if at all possible. Okay, number 3 is use the Onyx hunting app or tax assessor sites to identify who the landowners are. So once you figured out, hey, this looks like a good place to spot, the Onyx hunting app is a very good app, and it can show you landowners. And then there's also like the county, whatever county you live in, your tax assessor site will generally show the people who own it and their address as well. So you can dig into that. All right, number 4 is determine if it would be better to travel during the day or at night. This is a highly variable decision, and the threat of the situation might make the determination for you. You might be forced to travel at one or the other. You know, you don't know for sure. But if you're somebody who is well equipped with night vision equipment and, you know, night vision optics on your rifles, it might be best to travel at night and stay hidden during the day. Because remember, the situation is so dangerous that it has forced you from your home. And so, you know, you're going to be carrying a rifle, most likely, if you're intelligent. And you are not going to necessarily want the attention of other people. You're going to try to avoid other people, and you're going to assume, you know, that people's intentions may not be the best during this heightened period of, you know, civil unrest. Now, if you're a person who doesn't have night vision, you have standard optics on your rifles and stuff like that, it might make more sense to go ahead and travel during the day so that you can use those things to your optics, you know, regular binos and all that kind of stuff you can use to your advantage, regular optics on your rifles and so on and so forth, and then hide during the night. So it really just kind of depends on your setup. All right, let's see here. And if you're a person who's got a bug out location that's fairly close by, you might just travel during both. I mean, it's hard to say, but thinking a little bit about that and how you're going to go about it might be worthwhile. Number 5, if you've got a vehicle, an ATV or other load carrying alternative, like maybe a game cart or a wheelbarrow, or like I said, an ATV, a UTV, or just a car, or truck, and a trailer, then you want to probably make sure that you hide, wherever you decide to stop, make sure you hide that vehicle somewhere off the road, or that piece of equipment, whatever it is. And then also ensure that you have something to help conceal that. Maybe an OD green car cover, or a camouflage netting, piece of camouflage netting, or a camo tarp, or who knows, like just something to assist with concealing that. Back off the road somewhere behind some concealment or something along those lines. Because it's not necessarily a good idea to place your camp somewhere close to your vehicle. Because the vehicle, especially a full-size vehicle, is large and it could easily attract attention. Now you might want to be close enough to it, to hear if somebody's screwing with it so that you could defend your property, but you wouldn't want to be right on top of it necessarily, in my opinion. Okay, number 6, you want to look for areas that are wooded and offer thick concealment. Ideally, you don't, even though it might feel like it would be nicer to camp in, on some nice flat grassland in a pasture or something, you really don't want to have that kind of exposure. You really want to be somewhere that's going to be a little bit more hidden. And that was number 7, actually. Don't camp in an open area. If there is no choice, though, try to find a low-lying area somewhere down low where you're not silhouetted on the hills around you so that people can see you for a long distance. Try to get down somewhere low if you have to camp in an open area. Excuse me, this cold's it's been lasting for like almost 2 months now. I don't know. Let's see here. Number 8 is make sure you get off the road at least 100 or 200 yards or more, depending on the situation. But you really don't want to stay, right close to the road where you're going to have a lot of travel and people coming by and, all that kind of stuff. Try to get back off the roadways. Number 9, don't walk directly to your campsite. Try to use like a large looping J-hook when you come into your camp. And the reason for that is if somebody's following you or somebody is tracking you, looking at your tracks, looking down, paying attention to that, the hope is that if you're way over here because you kind of looped around into your camp, that you'll be able to see them before they see you. Because their attention is going to be looking forward and looking down, and hopefully you would be able to see them coming to give you a little bit of advance notice to prepare your defense or whatever the case may be. Okay, number 10, don't plan on having a fire. If you have to have a fire, use a very, like a small camp stove, or like an Esbit cubes, or a can of Sterno, or maybe a Dakota hole fire. But in general, you should not have a fire. Have other ways to warm up your body, like a good sleeping bag and a good bivy. You could take a can of Sterno and put a poncho over the top of you and light that Sterno underneath there. That's going to warm you up too if you needed to. But generally speaking, don't plan on having a fire because fire attracts attention. Even with a Dakota hole fire, you still have some wood smoke smell and stuff like that. It's not a 100% guaranteed thing. It does have less light, and it is, it does burn a little bit cleaner, but it still can give you away, especially if the adversary has night vision goggles. So that was number 10. Number 11, look for a campsite with good cover around it. Not concealment, but good cover. Something that'll stop bullets. Mature big trees, fallen trees, rocks, mounded, dirt. If that is not available, then look for something with a lot of concealment. If If you don't have the option for cover, then go with concealment. That's the next best thing, but it is certainly not good enough to stop bullets, but at least it would maybe keep you hidden, and it would also, if you're in the middle of a lot of thick brush and everything, you'll hear somebody else coming through that, and it can act as a, as a quasi-alarm system to let folks know, or let you guys know that somebody's coming. Okay, let's see here. Where I got a little lost there. Let's see. Number 12. Number 12 is make sure to keep a lookout, awake, and on alert 24/7. My recommendation would be to rotate every 2 to maybe 3 hours. You really don't want to go any longer than that, because people start to really lose focus after sitting on guard for really more than like 90 minutes to 2 hours. So 3 hours is probably max. 4 hours I think is way too long for most people. So I really wouldn't recommend that. But having somebody on guard, looking out, paying attention outwards and not inwards is important. Okay, number 13. If you have multiple tents, and subdued colors would be best, although it's harder to find subdued color tents nowadays. A lot of them are really bright colored and stuff like that. Anyway, if you have multiple tents, make sure to place each one facing outwards so that the door faces outwards from kind of the center of your camp. So if you have, say, 2 tents, instead of putting the doors this way where they both face each other, which is how a typical camp is set up, switch them 180 degrees and face them outwards. The reason for this is you can leave the tent doors open, and so that you just have the screen, keep the bugs out and stuff, but you can still look out. And because even though people might not be on watch at night, in a high stress situation like this, it's unlikely that people are going to sleep very well. So, as a force multiplier, having the ability for additional eyes to look outward would be a good security thing, in my opinion. Okay, let's see, number 14. If you do have a bright colored tent, consider covering it with a camo tarp or a poncho or something along those lines to lower its signature. You also could even just take some pine boughs and put, a couple here or there. Now realize if it's raining, that could cause some leaks and stuff like that, so it might not be the best idea in really bad inclement weather. But if it's just cold and you just have the tent up, to help create a microclimate so that you can be warmer, then putting some pine boughs kind of loosely on it is not that big a deal. And obviously you don't want to collapse the tent in, just a few light ones here or there. But that'll help break up the signature a little bit. Number 15 is place the tents as near to large cover as possible. And you want to assign the occupants where they will go to get behind cover if there's trouble. So let's say that if you put one tent here and there is a large downed tree right next to the tent, then leave enough space between it so that you could, let's say if your teenage children were in that tent or something, and you and your wife had another one or whatever, then you would tell them, hey, if something happens, you guys come out and get behind cover on either side of this fallen tree or this big rock or whatever the case may be. We'll be over here, let everybody know where you're going to be and all that kind of stuff. But that way they know where to go if there's problems. Okay. Number 16 is, if you can, establish a rally point that has plenty of good cover, and is also a prominent land feature in the area. Maybe you do this every 4 to 5 miles, 2 to 3 miles, depends on how long you're going. But as you see things, be like, hey, this is our rally point here. So as we go, if we get separated and something happens, we all loop back to this point and then meet up again. Same thing at the bug out campsite. You can say, hey, that hill over there by those big boulders, that'll be where we'll rally up if there's a problem. Something along those lines. Just think about the idea of a rally point. Okay, number 17. is make sure to watch out for hazards like Widowmakers, game trails, ant hills, low-lying areas that could flood, stuff like that. So when you pick your campsite spot, take those things into consideration. And just, if you don't know, a Widowmaker is just a dead tree that's standing that has a big spire of, dead wood way up there, and if a high wind comes along, it can come down, smash on your tent and stuff like that. So kind of one easy way to establish if there is any Widowmakers within a dangerous range is just stand and hold your arm up at about a 45-degree angle. And if the top of the Widowmaker is sticking out above the top of your hand, then it could potentially reach you if it falls. So just a little, it's a wag, it's not science, but it's close. Okay, number 18 is if the weather is nice enough, consider using an evasion type shelter. I did a video on evasion shelters. I'll try to throw a link down below, or just type in evasion shelter reality survival and it'll pop up. And basically that's going to follow the BLISS acronym, which is blend, low profile, irregular shape, small size, and then shine and sheen. So you want to try to make it blend in as much as possible, keep it low as you can, have an irregular shape, and as small as possible, and then try to make sure that it doesn't have too much shine and all that kind of stuff. All right, number 19 is a Bivy Bag and a sleeping bag under a big tree can be a very adequate shelter in most circumstances, in regular circumstances, unless the weather's really terrible or it's really snowy out or something along those lines. Just having a good sleeping bag with a bivy cover on it is probably all you need. You don't probably need to set up the tents and all that kind of stuff in every situation. So having those things in your bug out bag, pretty important, I think. There's lots of different bivvies out there. It doesn't have to be the military sleep system one or whatever. There's lots of different ones, but that's a quick, expedient shelter that will usually work just fine. And like if you can find a big tree, like a big cedar tree or something with a lot of good cover over the top of it. I mean, even in semi-heavy rains, you can get up underneath some big trees and feel the ground and it's not wet, because a lot of moisture doesn't make its way out. It kind of funnels its way to the outside as it falls. So, you can put each person kind of on one side of each tree. Like if you had 4 people, you could kind of have them all facing out. That way, as they're sleeping or as they're laying there just resting, they can be focusing on, the external areas. I'd still have somebody on guard though. Okay, number 20 is conceal your packs and other items that you're carrying with you, not your guns. They should be with you right there. But have those so that they're close by and accessible, but not readily apparent if somebody happened upon the camp. So what I'm saying is like maybe, 5-10 yards away or behind a downed log or stuck to kind of up under maybe a uprooted tree or something. Put a pack here, put another pack here, put another pack here. That way if somebody comes into the camp, you guys have any issues, you can grab them and go really quick as you're spreading out or whatever. But if they say get the drop on you for some reason or whatever, they might not find those, and then if you can end up getting away and coming back later, you could go back and find them. So, or if somebody snuck into camp and was undetected, they could, if your packs are like right there, they might be able to just grab them and take off. But if you've kind of placed them in a somewhat concealed manner in kind of random places, then maybe they won't see them as easily and they won't think that you have anything of value. Just something to think about. It's not necessarily like it's a critical thing, but okay. So number 21, this is just kind of the bonus item here, is when you leave camp, double back out on the trail that you came in on and make sure not to leave any trash or signs of presence or any of that kind of stuff. Try to, leave as light of impact as possible. So anyway, guys, what other suggestions do you have for establishing a bug out camp? What would you guys do? How would you guys do things differently? I'd love to hear your comments down in the comments below. As always, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button and when you share it with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. And don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.